Okay, so I'm going to resume where we left off. Lesson 6, part 2. So what I've done, I've put a copy of the updated slides online for you. I've also included the link to the YouTube channel on the home screen. So if you want to refer to the video lessons, you can do that. So a little hard to see the URL, but I'll just put it up in a Word doc if you want the slides. Obviously, I don't have access to your Blackboard shell. So if you want the slide deck that includes the YouTube link, there's the link. You can download the slides and the screencast. It's there if you want to make notes on the PowerPoint or add anything else of your own, you're free to do so. So in this part of the class, we're going to play around with probably the most popular NoSQL database, which is called MongoDB. So this is what data looks like in MongoDB. We don't have tables, we have collections, and we don't have records, we have documents. So here's an example of one MongoDB document, which is the JSON object, keys and values, and we have nested data. So this looks like a restaurant rating. So we've got a restaurant object with an address. And then we have inside of here a separate nested array for grades. So different days it's been rated and scored. MongoDB will one of the nice things is it will automatically create key fields. So it'll create unique identifiers for every document we insert. We don't have to set that up. Those fields are always called _ID, and they get a unique object ID. One of the other neat things about MongoDB is not only do our collections not have to have schema, but we actually don't have to create the collections ahead of time at all. If we write code just to save a new document into a collection, if that collection doesn't exist, MongoDB will just create it. So we don't even need to have just in a relational database, we need to declare a table before we can insert into it. We don't have to do that in MongoDB. If the collection doesn't exist, it'll just create it on the fly and then insert the data. So kind of hard for me to believe, this product is actually 12 years old. Doesn't seem like NoSQL's been around that long, but it was actually created in 2007. And the word comes from the word humongous, which means really, really big or enormous. So they took the word Mongo out of the middle, and that's where the name MongoDB came from. So there are some other popular NoSQL databases. CouchDB is one that's commonly used. SQLite, commonly used for local storage in mobile apps, and Firebase as well as a NoSQL database. We look in the Firebase console, we'll basically just see our data in a JSON format. So what's cool about MongoDB, the data is stored in not quite JSON, it's called Bison. So it's JSON that's converted to binary. You take a JSON object, MongoDB automatically serializes it to ones and zeros. When we query it out, we just get plain old JSON back, which is really fast. And a lot of cloud platforms support it. We want to write a query, for example, here is how we would find all of the documents in a post collection that contain the title Mongo. db.post, so db. the name of our collections, .find, and this parameter is optional. If we don't pass in anything, we're going to get all of the documents in the collection. We pass in a parameter, which is basically just a key and a value. So pass in a little JSON object. So no where clauses, no joins, no SQL syntax at all when we're working with this. So how do we get MongoDB? Well, let's go get it. It's free. We'll run on the platform, which is great. I believe all of you guys, or most of you, are running on OS X. So just go to MongoDB. And from here, what we want is probably two things. We want the MongoDB server. So that will allow us to run a local instance of MongoDB. This tool is kind of new. It used to be when you installed MongoDB, the only way to interact with your database was through the terminal or command line. We could just run queries and work with the data there. A couple years ago, they came up with a GUI tool called Compass. So that allows us to interact kind of in a more visual way. Both of them are free. Neither of them are very big and shouldn't take very long to install. So I would recommend installing the server and install Compass. And here they do have a local storage version as well. So if you want to use local storage with MongoDB, there's an app for that. There it is right there. You can install and work with it. So take a minute to download and install. Maybe just kind of give me a nod or a wave when those things are installed. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that, and I won't want to go ahead until people have this installed. So it's items 1 and 3 under software. And you can see some of the other add-on tools they've got: charting, cloud migrations, etc. Business intelligence tools, some other more advanced features. It's not won't download? Yep. Yeah, you got it. The server, the local server, is also self-contained, which is nice. You can put it in any directory and you just run it straight from that directory. You can move it around. Doesn't require a reinstall or anything like that. No, I think we'll install the server and we'll install the GUI. So the GUI will allow us, we could use the terminal to connect to it, or we can use the GUI. I'll maybe show you both. You can see if you go to their customers link, you can see how widely used this is. You're going to recognize a lot of the names of organizations that are using this. Still installing? Sorry? Yep, server and Compass. Yep. Anybody having a problem installing? So once everything's installed, you can try and open the MongoDB Compass application. So this is kind of similar to if we were working with a MySQL database, sort of a similar interface to MySQL Workbench. We're working with SQL Server, would be similar to SQL Server Management Studio. So this tool is a visual tool that allows us to connect to any MongoDB instance which we have access to. So it could be local or it could be remote. I'll show you in a minute. A few minutes, we can look at a MongoDB cloud service that we also can access for free. So by default, when I open this up, the default host name is localhost and the default MongoDB port is 27017. So does yours default to these options or is yours empty? It has those? Okay. We can toggle SSL on or off, as well as by default, when we install the MongoDB server, there's no authentication. So when we're working locally, we don't need to provide any username and password. If we set it up, then when we connect here, we can set up the username and password as well. So we'll try to connect. This may or may not work. I'm not sure if this will, our server isn't running. I'm not sure if this will start our server. If not, we'll have to go to the terminal and we'll first manually have to start the server before we can connect to it. We'll give it a try. So I'll click connect. Okay, so it's not running. So we're actually going to need to use the command line or the terminal to start our server. Yep. Did you get an error? Okay. This may not be the application. This is for server clusters. We just need the server. So they're on. Go back to the MongoDB site. Yeah. We just want to go to MongoDB.com. You're in their cloud service. Just go to MongoDB.com. You're in the cloud. Yeah, right there. Okay, go to products, and we want the server and Compass. And then you install that.
Once it downloads.
Now, is everybody in here running on OS X, or is anybody running Windows? Okay, so to start your server, on OS X, bear with me for a sec. I need to find my MongoDB folder. Maybe I don't have the server installed, so bear with me for a second. I'm gonna have to install it myself. Sorry, thought I had it. I guess I. So when you try to connect your server, do you get an error as well? I got an error because I didn't install the server. I only installed Compass. What happens when you click connect to your local host? Does it work or do you get an error? You got an error? Okay. Okay. So we do need to start the server. Oh, no. I'm really hoping I don't have to restart. It gave me a message saying I'm going to have to restart. Hopefully that's not true. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so on Windows, it installs into Program Files Directory, MongoDB. If you're on OS X, it should be under, I believe, Applications. It should create a MongoDB folder in there. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is, if in your Finder, you can go into your Applications MongoDB folder. And then if you follow this path, open up Server. I'm going to see if I can run it without rebooting. Hopefully I can. So inside of server, we've got 4.0 and bin, and the executable programs are actually here. So the service we need to run is actually this one. It's the MongoD, that's the Mongo daemon, that's the service. So that's the actual database server itself. So I can try and open it from here. I have a feeling it's not going to work and I'm going to have to do it through my command line or through my terminal. I'm going to try it and see what happens. I suspect it's going to give me an error telling me I need to set up a database path, but I will try it just for fun. I'll see if I can connect now. Okay, there, that seemed to do the trick. So if, again, you go to your MongoDB server 4.0 bin, you run or open the MongoD file, that will start your service. And then you should be able to connect through Compass. The one I've highlighted. You may need to use the sudo command to run it with elevated permissions. Done that before? Okay. So some of you may have gotten an error trying to run it. Okay. So here's what we need to do. Let me just think for just a second. Okay, I think we will modify. We're still going to use Compass, but what may be simpler than trying to run the server locally is we can run MongoDB as a cloud service. There's a free cloud service. So let's try this instead. We can still connect to it through our Compass app. If you go to this website, which is mlab.com, mlab.com is a database as service for MongoDB. So it's a cloud service. So this is a good option for storing our database if we want to use cloud storage with a mobile app and MongoDB as the backend. So if you go, you can quickly sign up. All they ask for, I think, is your name and your email, and they send you a confirmation link. There's no fee. It doesn't expire. It's not a trial. So very quickly, if you want to just sign up, it doesn't take long. Yeah, all they want is your email, first name, last name, and a password. So it's now integrated with MongoDB. This was a separate standalone cloud service that ran MongoDB. MongoDB has now bought this. And you see the message, you're now integrated into MongoDB Atlas. So I'm going to sign up for the MongoDB Atlas account. What is going on? You're getting the same thing? Okay, maybe, I think it's because they've, this is the sign up from MLab. Maybe we'll just go right to MongoDB and create an Atlas account. Hmm. We'll try this. Oh, this may finally let me in. Okay, I'm in, finally. So this should allow us to set up a database in the cloud, and then we can use our Compass interface to connect to it. Okay. So let's build my first cluster. So we want to select one of the free tiers, and you can choose your provider. So either AWS, Google, or Azure. We don't really see that. The provider's just in the background. So pick any one of those, and I will just pick North America, Virginia, because there's a free database cluster available. So I'll pick that one. The 2 data centers in Canada don't offer the free tier, so I don't want to pick those. I don't want to pay for this. So the tier, it just defaults to the sandbox. So it gives us 0.5 gig of storage for free on their free tier. There's also no backup. And I'll just name this so I'll create my free cluster. Okay, bear with me for just a second. So, and now it's gone. Yeah, so you've already clicked that. Okay, scroll down. So it says Virginia. Cluster. Yep, sandbox. So that's fine. Yep, you're all good. Or click the button at the bottom, the create cluster button. So we're going to need to create a user account. So we have a database cluster. We want to create a user. So I'll go over here to database access. And I'm going to add a new user. Build the cluster first. So just create a set of credentials, a username and a password that we can then use on our database. Generally a good idea to put these in text files so we can always retrieve them later. Yeah, scroll back up. You're in here. Click. I think you've already created. It's already created. Just cancel. Your free cluster should already be there. So now when I put in a username and password, I can choose my role. Is it an administrator? Is it read and write access to any of my database? I'll just say it's an Atlas administrator. Now, by default, all outside IP addresses are blocked. I want to whitelist my IP so I can connect from the Compass app on my laptop into my database remotely. So I'll click on whitelist. And now on network access, I will say, add my current IP address. So it can figure out what IP I'm connecting from, and I'll be allowed in. If I go to Tim Hortons later and try and open up Compass and connect, it should block me unless I go back in and either say allow all IPs or just whitelist the IP I'm getting later. I'm not going to worry about loading sample data. We'll just populate some data in there ourselves using the Compass app. I'll click on connect to your cluster. We probably can just do this through the Compass app, but I'll see what happens here. Okay, so it's going to take us. Hopefully it doesn't really take 7 minutes. But it might. So it should show us a free. But we're not going to be able to connect to it until it's finished provisioning. Once we're done provisioning, what we want to do is in our connection screen, now that we've whitelisted our IP,
the sample data?
You can load the sample data. I wasn't going to. I was going to just manually insert some data. This is probably why it's telling me to restart. It won't let us do anything until it's done creating a cluster. My Compass app is not working very well. Okay, well, in that case, let's let this run. We'll take a pause here for 10 minutes. That should give us enough time for our cluster to get created, and then we can connect to it when we come back. Okay, so I'll start up again at 1:55. We should be good to go by then.